say that yet. She said she's not ready to be with OJ.
Enraged by the news, OJ says he and Charlie left in the Bronco to confront Nicole at her condo. If at least some of OJ's story is true, there has actually been an accomplice to the crimes that night. Someone who could confirm whether another person was involved is Alan Park, the limousine driver who drove OJ to the airport at approximately 11 p.m. on the night of the murders.
What?
Yeah, it brings back memories. Same size, same color, basically same car.
In O.J.'s criminal trial, the prosecution used Alan Park's testimony to establish a timeline of events that challenged the defense's argument that O.J. was home at the time of the murders. The prosecution claimed that Alan was at the Rockingham estate when O.J. returned from the crime scene, which would put Alan in a prime position to confirm whether O.J. was alone that night.
When I first arrived and noticed the address, there was no vehicles parked on this side.
You see that white Bronco in this photograph, sir?
Yes.
Was that white Bronco there at the time you drove by at about 10:22?
I didn't see it. I pulled up parallel with this Rockingham gate and looked into the driveway. Well, I noticed a couple cars parked in this area here. And from the length of the limousine, I didn't feel that I could make that turn correctly, as easy as it would have been from the Ashford side. And at that point, I backed straight up the Rockingham and then pulled straight up to the intercom here. I proceeded to get out of the limousine and pick up the intercom and ring into the house there. It just continued to ring. There was no answer.
Did you have to have him at the airport at a certain time?
Correct. The pickup was 10:45, so I was continually looking at my watch and looking at the clock inside the limo. I see a figure, all dark clothing, briskly walking, pretty quick, going towards the front porch. As the figure comes across and goes into the house here, then lights come on. I get out, I ring the intercom again, and this time is when he answers. He said, "Hey man, I just got out of the shower, I overslept, I'll be down in a minute." I said, "Okay, yeah, no problem." Thinking now that he's gonna buzz me in and open up the gate, still the gate doesn't open.
Alan Park saw the person in dark clothes, 6 foot 200 pounds, walk across the driveway at 10:54, walking into the house. And at 10:55, when Alan Park got out of his limo to go and buzz the defendant finally answered. What that testimony proves is not only that the defendant was not home, but it proves he was not sleeping, and it proves that he lied about it to create the impression, to create an alibi for himself. You don't need to do that unless you've been doing something that you need to hide.
30 seconds, maybe a minute, not more than that, is when I see another person come out over here in this area.
We're talking about Kato.
It was Caleb. When he
Where am I
approaches me
going?
and I get out of the car and ask him, the first thing he says to me is, "Hey, did you feel an earthquake?" I told him I didn't feel any earthquake, and he comes over and he opens the gate for me. And then there's a bench right here at the end of the driveway right here that's got 2 black bags sitting on the bench.
We're talking about a guy who knows he's got a flight in a couple hours.
I'm not very good at this map.
Something happens while he's waiting, ready to go, but he already packed. There were 2 luggage bags already on the porch prior to OJ coming out. If that's the case, it may indicate that those bags were packed before he left Rockingham to go over to Bundy, giving life to the fact and the Charlie theory that somebody may have interrupted his evening unexpectedly, and that's why the bags were left on the porch prior to him arriving back at the house.
Oh, I thought you said
What
the
happens next? OJ finally comes downstairs.
So, did you notice anything about his demeanor that stood out?
One of the biggest things that stood out was the being hot and sweaty. We're talking 11 o'clock at night. It was 12. I'm wearing a suit and I'm not hot, so I thought it was a little odd to be as hot as he was. And then what happened? OG says we gotta go. I said, I was like, yeah, we're going to get out here. Over in this area is where there was 2 vehicles here. I'm looking at making sure that I'm clearing here.
Are you sure there were 2 vehicles there?
I'm just stating the facts of what I saw.
And you pointed out in trial that did you say that there were 2 cars in the trial?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
they all thought that I was influenced by what was on TV.
Did you see 2 cars in that driveway? Yes. Did you have occasion to see some photographs?
Why is it so
or
laggy?
something at or about the time that you testified at either the grand jury or the preliminary hearing where you saw 2 cars in the driveway at some point?
Not that I remember.
Police took photos of the driveway at the Rockingham estate after the murders, which revealed a car belonging to O.J.'s daughter, Arnell, parked behind O.J.'s Bentley. Could that have been the car Alan Parks saw in the driveway at 10:55 the previous evening? That would make sense, except for one inconvenient fact.
When you came home on the evening of June 12th, which, according to your prior testimony, was after midnight, right?
If I were to tell you that that second car did not arrive in that driveway until about 1 o'clock a.m., would that in any way refresh your recollection there's only 1 car there when you went in?
No.
If there was no way Alan could have seen Arnell's car, whose car was it?
Alan Park's description of the second vehicle gives a whole different dimension to the Charlie theory, because that would be in line with someone arriving at the Rockingham estate and then leaving their car behind when they went over to Bundy.
Who would know the access code to open the gate? And who besides family would feel comfortable enough to park in the driveway right behind OJ's car? So it gives a lot more credence to the Charlie theory and the possibility that Charlie could be
Come on.
Jason.
Yes.
Alan's testimony about having seen 2 cars
Now I can do
didn't
this.
fit either the prosecution
Oh,
or the
wait.
defense's
Now I can do
argument,
this.
so the subject was not pursued any further.
So you guys are leaving, and you're coming here, so you've got to go buy these 2 cars that are parked here. Is there any doubt that there were 2 cars there? Given that you had to drive your car through this direction and navigate that turn.
Not at all. There was 2 cars there.
That second car hints at the Charlie theory. That could have been Jason Simpson.
I continue to pull out here on Rockingham. As I'm inching out, I'm looking for traffic, and there was a car. I've seen headlights coming down the Rockingham street, and I know that I'm looking around something here.
More than likely, what
You're
you
doing
were
bad.
obstructed by was the Bronco. We know shortly after they found a white Bronco parked in front of that gate.
Right.
If the Bronco was not outside O.J.'s estate when Alan Park arrived, but was there when he left, that would indicate that O.J. was not napping or showering as he claimed, but in fact arrived in his Bronco at some point while Alan was waiting for him. If this is what happened, where would that leave Charlie? Could he have remained in the Bronco, waiting for the limo to depart so he could retrieve his own car in the driveway?
When I drove home that night after dropping him off from LAX, I did tell myself, I said, man, that was a strange night. I thought something was weird. It just didn't feel right.
I definitely want to hear your theory on what you think happened that night.
Well, at some point, when I come up, he's coming back. He
Right now I'm
parks
gonna be
the
active.
Bronco here. He now knows that I'm sitting over here, and I'm looking directly into the house here. So he comes along the back gate here. He jumps the fence. It's pitch black back there. He runs into the air conditioning on Cato's room. That's what Cato hears. That's what concerns Cato, which brings him out here. He comes up to the back here, which I think they testified to, that the alarm is set in the home. Well, he cannot disarm it from the back here. He has to go to the front and disarm the alarm. So now I'm going to see him because he's going to come around the front here.
He has no choice but to come to that front door because
Right.
he doesn't know what was going on.
Right. So what he tried
Alright,
to
catch you
avoid
guys later.
is now
Bye bye.